Hey friends, welcome to Camp Joy. We wanted to take a quick moment to look outside. I know a lot of us are trapped inside, and some of the things that we're going to look at today, we're going to look at wildflowers, the spring ephemerals, in fact. These are things that you might have in your backyard that you or your parents might be like, why are you growing in my yard? Some of them are just popping up in nature. This is before the canopy, before all the leaves grow into the forest, there are plants that are have a very short amount of time to be able to grow, to go to seed, and to make next year's batch. So we're going to look around in this little creek area here at camp. One of my favorite we're going to start off with is right down here. It is not a bloom just yet. These are the first two leaves. They call them the basal leaves. And the adult looks nothing like it, but I like it because it kind of looks like a little hiney, like someone's hiney cheeks there. You get one on each side. And this will turn into jewelweed or touch-me-nots. And as a person that suffers from poison ivy year-round, this plant during the summer has medicinal properties, and I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. But I just wanted to point that one out because I just love it. But we'll head over here. We found a really good example. Down here you can find some spring beauties. Again, when we're looking at plants today, we're going to be looking at the leaves. The blooms are really beautiful, but sometimes some of the plants that we're going to be looking at today, the blooms look a little similar. So you want to look at the leaves that are coming off of. This to me is a very grass leaf looking thing, and some of these flowers that we're going to see today kind of have that pink stripes in there. Some of them just are a little bit more white than others. This is a spring beauty. Spring beauty. And right next to us, I haven't seen any today with the blooms out, but we have this cut leaf toothwort. To me, some of these leaves kind of look like a turkey footprint, a little bird foot stepping down. So again, we're just looking at pattern recognition as we're looking at these plants, but I haven't seen any today with the blooms. It's kind of a similar bloom to your spring beauty. And there's one really great example of a fun, as we push through here, of a purple crest. So kind of in that vein of small little blooms. This one has a bit more clusters in the head here, but again, look at this leaf. This leaf is a unique pattern with kind of a typical leaf shape you might see on a tree, all the way down to here, a little fatter version or the narrow version, kind of like that Michigan glove looking thing. And then we have, it looks like 4 petals here, the purple bloom here. It's called purple cress, almost like Crest toothpaste. But that's a really nice example of a bloom, the best one I saw today. And I think down over here is the beginning of a trillium. This is 3 leaves, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to have this bloom that's coming up here. And you see the toad-like pattern on this one. This one is toad shade trillium or sessile trillium. There's a couple different versions of trillium here in Ohio, but this will be the bloom that'll be popping up. But we found it today all curled up, and before it comes out, it's just a little package, and it starts to come out, and maybe tomorrow or a week from now, the bloom will finally come out on that little fella over there. So we're going to hop over this ravine and see if we can see any others. I'll give me video guy a moment to get across. The thing I love about wildflower hunting is you don't need anything. You just get out and go look. We're looking for pattern recognition, and it's kind of like a little hide and go seek. You're like, oop, I won. Look, there's a little spring beauty. Oop, I won. There's a purple crest over there. You do want to be careful where you're walking, because every footstep could be stepping on, when you're going off trail, every step could be another step on one of those spring flowers. So you want to, not tromp around everywhere like Godzilla out here, but you want to get out and see them. It's kind of beautiful. So let's keep looking around, see if we see anything new in the area. More spring beauties out here. Oh, here's a fun one. This one came out in my yard. I always know it's spring when I see this itty bitty little flower And sometimes we'll see more examples down the way that have better leaves, but these little tiny blooms, that is the harbinger, the harbinger of spring. So it's a trumpet call saying, hey, spring's here, man. Go outside and look. So I love this little guy. I definitely have him in my yard down in Cincinnati. And another little example here, and another little example here. And this is the itty bitty, we'll see some better versions of this, but this is, you see this plant, this leaf here? It's got little spots on it. But this leaf pattern, kind of like a pine tree kind of, but the shape in general. But those spots on there is Virginia waterleaf. There's a couple other examples down here. They're better spots that you can see. There's water stains and then big spots on them. This will get much bigger. And then way down the bottom you see this fuzzy little bloom. That will turn into a bloom, and later in almost near summer you'll see this fuzzy bloom come up. But it's really rare to see that bloom. It's a short-lived little fella. And we're gonna head on down the trail over this way. You've seen most of the usual suspects. Again, your Virginia waterleaf or your waterleaf can get pretty big. It could take up a space that is bigger than both of my feet. And we have another version of the Spring Beauty, bigger leaves here, a little less pink and purple in those, just a more faded out. And a bigger cut leaf toothwort without the bloom still, but that bigger leaf. Ooh, I see what I call the devil over here. There's an invasive plant that comes, that grows in our areas, in our forests, and it starts on the edge in disturbed areas, and it starts taking over a little bit. It grows in the same, just disturbed area. It does go to bloom twice a year, which is why it's such a troublesome thing. It's not from around these parts, you need from around here, and it's the garlic mustard. And you can kind of see this like horse hoof looking leaf almost. Sometimes they get a little bit more elongated, a little pointy, but that really kind of crinkly, veiny leaf there, that's the beginning of that. It will grow about knee high, and it will have these little white blooms on them. In general, they're not too nuisance to us, except that they start growing big, and then they go to seed twice, which means there's twice as many next year, and twice as many next year that any of these other wildflowers can do. And it starts to take over the hillside, and they, big broad leaves, make a mini canopy and shade out all the other wildflowers that are out there. So it can be quite a nuisance if you like the spring ephemerals. Cool. Let's head on down the way. See if there's anything else new, full of different. If you do go walking in the woods, I do ask that you be really careful. There are a lot of ash trees out there that right now the emerald ash borer came in. You can see this little tiny hole right here in this tree where a bug crawled in. And right now it's really spongy because the bug crawled in and it started eating the layer between the bark, the inner and outer bark, and it basically ringed and killed this tree. And now this tree is dead and it could fall at any point. An ash tree is one of those things that could, as it falls, not the typical like timber, you can't really cut, they kind of have this explosion fall sometimes. So they are very dangerous. So as you're walking out in the woods, do be very mindful about what's above you and what's around you. And try not to get too close to those ash trees that unfortunately we lost so many of. More harbinger of spring. Cut these toothwort. Well, that's the biggest version of the. You know what? Here's a good cut leaf toothwort. And you can see all those multiple facets of them there, all the little spurs off of that one little, this is one little leaf with little spurs off of here. And I was mistaken. I think earlier I called this over here a cutleaf toothwort, a version over there. But you see this dark purple? So I'm sorry if you're still with us here. I did miss. This is a larkspur, and it'll have a shoot that comes up, and this might be the blooms. I'll see. The larkspur has this cool little purple. It looks like a witch's hat on a club of them. So like, you know, you've got about maybe 6 or 7 of them that kind of drape down. So you have these little hats hanging on a coat rack. But they're beautiful little witch's hat. They're purple, so it's larkspur. So that's the basal leaves of the larkspur. I don't know what else we're gonna find out here. But boy, it's just been really nice to hang out with you, to get outside on a beautiful day. You can go wildflower hunting when it's wet, if it's raining or if it's cold. They're still trying their best out there. We got until June till some of these start getting taken over by different plants that'll use the same space. It's just their turn in nature. They can grow better as the canopy starts filling in. They're more shade tolerant. So between now and fall, there's always going to be some cool plants out there. I love the spring ephemeral. I've been trapped inside all winter long, and now I get a chance to go out and play hide and go seek with these beautiful little things. We might have another session later with some of the others. There's lots of other wildflowers that are out there, some great books out there. Ohio Department of Natural Resources has a great resource, so you can just look up the colors of them and identify. So there's lots of different ways, but I just like going and seeing the patterns in nature and trying to recognize those patterns. I really want to thank you. Keep looking up. It's a beautiful time. And this is Joy's way of saying thank you in this difficult time. Godspeed.